our mountain house the other day. Better. I was up at our mountain house the other day, and I woke up in the middle of the night and saw the stars out. So I went out onto the deck to go and see the twinkling stars. I could see the Big Dipper, Orion's Belt, the Milky Way, billions of other stars. It was so exquisite. I went and watched for a long time until the dawn began to break with the golden hues coming in. And I noticed as it got louder that I couldn't see the stars anymore. The light that illuminates my path, enabling me to better see my way, also obscured a different reality. Are the stars there if I can't see them? I then climbed into my car and was driving down to the lake, drove by and looked out the window and saw cottages nestled in the pine trees, wood piles close by, and then I put on my polarized sunglasses. Now I saw the same scene, but with a difference. Now there's blotches in the window, blocking my view. What's going on? As I arrived down at the lake, I saw the shimmering of the water's surface, like dancing diamonds. And then I put on my polarized sunglasses. The dancing diamonds disappeared, and now I could see through the surface into a different reality. Now I could see the rocks below. Which is real? Are the rocks there if I can't see them? Are the stars there if I can't see them? Are the windows have blotches in them if I normally have them hidden from view? Reality is not based on our perception. Conflict is not based on reality. It's based on our interpretations of that reality. Just as strongly held beliefs get obscured when we hold them and don't look at other perceptions of what's going on. Is my partner right or wrong when I don't see their point of view? What's going on? It's all about perception. We see things in a different way. Conflict is based on an interpretation of reality, not the actual behavior. We filter information differently coming from our spouse than a casual acquaintance. We filter information differently coming from our parents than our children. We filter information differently coming from a competitor than a good friend. What's going on? Experience, age, gender, our interests modify what we pay attention to and how we influence the behavior, just as polarized sunglasses modify how we interpret behavior. Unfortunately, we tend to go and take a look at it as if other people's reality is the same as our own. We take a look at it as if they're seeing the filters the same as we do. But when I go fishing, I don't put candy bars on the fishing lure or whole grain granola bars. I don't offer the fish a beer or a glass of wine. I don't offer it a candlelight dinner for two. Instead, I look at what are the fish interested in? What might motivate them? Perhaps a copper john or a nymph. If I'm not sure, I might look around for insects that are around in the area to see what they might bite on. I try to take a look at what might be of interest to them. I recently had a situation where my son was in the hospital, and the insurance company said, we're not going to pay for him to stay in the hospital anymore. He needs to leave today. Obviously, I was not too pleased with that decision. I wanted to call them up and random rave and give them a piece of my mind. But I thought, being the conflict whisperer, that probably wouldn't be a very good idea. So instead I called them up and calmly asked, what is the rationale for this? What's behind it? And we talked, and I said, well, now what other alternatives are there? And she said, well, there's this 6-week-long outpatient program that might be available. And I said, so you'd pay for the 6 weeks outpatient program for him to go to? She says, no. We can only authorize 3 weeks at a time. And I said, well, I'm really reluctant to go and recommend to my son that he go into a program that he may not be able to finish. We were getting nowhere until I thought, this customer service representative sounds like she's straight out of college. How can I filter that in a way that she can understand? So I said, if you were going to college and your scholarship committee said, we'll go and pay for the first 3 weeks of the semester, but we're not sure if we can pay for the rest of the course, would you register? She immediately said, I understand what you're talking about. Now the whole conversation shifted. Now she's on my side and dealing with the whole thing. Why? Because we shifted it back to how she can take a look at the filters. What are the filters that she's looking in? It's making the same points, just in a little different way. Unfortunately, as Tara told us, most people only listen to their partners about 1% of the time. What do they do instead? You heard. One listens to the other only long enough to find some weakness where you can gleefully pounce and jump in and enlighten them of the wisdom of your ways. And they listen to you only long enough to go and find a weakness and speak to you. However, to do that, they have to speak louder because you couldn't hear what they had to say. So it escalates, and we got a spiral where it gets louder and louder. Not only do we do that, but we tend to pay attention to information that confirms our own viewpoint and discount information that isn't. If you're Republican and Romney says, Obama said that the economy's doing just fine, you say, right on. If you're Democrat, you say he took that out of context, and that wasn't what he meant at all. Not only do we pay attention to what confirms our own position, we also interpret our own intentions much more kindly than those of others. If I can't get something done and it is late, it's because I just got swamped. I had so much stuff to get done. But if you couldn't get it done, it's probably because you're disorganized, maybe not motivated, and maybe a little lazy. Not only do we do that, but we also interpret other people's intentions based on the behavior's impact on us. If I get angry because of what you said, it's because you intended to make me angry. If I feel humiliated, it's because you intended to humiliate me. We interpret others' behavior through the lens of the behavior's impact on us, and we assume the worst. It takes considerable restraint to go and refrain from doing that. Tara can tell you that. How do you not count to 30, or how do you count to 30 and wait and do that when you've probably got some very good comments to go and enlighten them about during that period of time? When that happens, I try to think of the fly fishing analogy. With fly fishing, you don't cast forward first. The first movement is backward, away from your partner. And your cast is going to be far more accurate, far more persuasive if you go backward and understand their interests first and then follow through and make your own point. It takes both. You can't just go back and then not make your own point. You have to follow through, but you address it in terms of their own perceptions and their own interests. When my son was in his teens, there was a time when I wanted him to mow the lawn. For some reason, mowing the lawn wasn't on the top of his priority list. It wasn't even in the top 10. I don't understand it. So I talked to him, and I wanted to teach him responsibility, right? Well, so what do? I try to think about what would a teenager be interested in. Well, just under girls was the idea of being in control of his life. So how do you give a teenager control of their life while at the same time having your own needs met? By giving choices. So I told him, okay, you can mow the lawn anytime you want to, as long as it's done by sundown on Saturday. Thursday came and went, but the lawnmower didn't come out. Friday came. Now I'm wrapping my tongue with gauze from trying to keep from biting it so much. Saturday comes, and just about the time I'm going to get the floodlights out to light up the lawn, out comes the lawnmower, just as he'd promised. I filtered it through his needs. At the same time, I got the needs that I needed done met. So I'm encouraging you today to consider other people's needs and their interests and try to filter yours through their own lenses and how are they taking a look at it. And as you leave today, look up at the sky. Do you see the stars? Thank you.